I've heard a lot of buzz about Kahhori, both positive and negative, but what I can tell you is I had a 70% win rate with her in High Infinite. Kahhori is a bit of an odd card. A 4/6 with an on-reveal ability that gives +1 power to the cards on your board at random for every card in your hand. Now, there is an interesting wrinkle here. It seems as though Kahhori cannot hit herself. So these buffs are always going to everyone else. That is a very unique interaction that does give her some reasonable upside. Like, you can do things like Sebastian Shaw into Kahhori and get 1,000,000 points. Unfortunately, those things are not what I'm doing with her. The way I think you're supposed to be playing Kahhori is as a floor raiser in Victoria Hand Misery decks. The reason I think that is because those decks tend to be a little bit finicky and sometimes lack power and beef to make their bad games into winnable games and to make their winnable games into really winnable games. You don't need Kahhori when you're doing Frigga V-Hand. She's not nearly that important for you. But when you're not doing Frigga V-Hand with like miseries on your hood and things of that nature, having a card that is just flat out good can be a really big bonus. So this is the list with which I achieved the 70% win rate. It was like 30 something and 13 or something like that. Just a very ridiculous win rate with a deck that really has not been played in a decent amount of time. And I think it gave me a feeling for what Kahhori is actually supposed to be doing. The obvious card to compare Kahhori with, I think, is Gwenpool. And I think the sort of differentiator between them is how many cards you're playing that are good with Gwenpool, and then I guess further, is this even a deck that can play Gwenpool? Because I think where Kahhori is going to shine is in decks that are not interested in Gwenpool, but would like to play something like her. And this deck is definitely one of those. You don't want to be playing Gwenpool in this deck. It's just not nearly as good as doing what Kahhori is able to do. I think another example could be Thanos. Again, not a deck that can really afford Gwenpool because its final turns involve so many big guys, and so often you're wasting the buffs. But this card is not wasting any of its buffs. I mean, bar the ones that go onto lanes that you don't actually want them to go on. So I think the step one for looking for decks that actually make sense with Kahhori is, do they put cards in your hand and draw cards? And then, would this deck like a Gwenpool that just happens on the board instead? And I think that is not as common as you think, but I also don't think Kahhori is all that much worse than Gwenpool generally. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being a competitor to, or at least pretty close to the level of Gwenpool in the Agamotto decks. The problem is that once you start actually adding synergy for Gwenpool cards, then you end up leaning more towards Gwen. So for example, decks that are playing Brood, decks that are playing Mr. Sinister, those cards are much better with Gwenpool than they are with Kahhori. In addition, Kahhori is not as good as Galacta. That is right out. Galacta is the elite card that she is for a reason. What Kahhori is competing for is the second or third place spot among cards like that, and she is competing with Gwenpool for it. So I would describe Kahhori as a fairly niche card. She goes in fairly specific decks. Those decks can and have been overrepresented recently. Decks playing things like Kate Bishop and Iron Patriot. That's really what you want from Kahhori. However, the fact that she is so large in terms of energy cost among the cards in this deck means that she is usually being played when you don't have better options. I consider her a pretty solid card for the list, but she's not part of your best draws a lot of the time. Your nut draws, and this is again much like Gwenpool, put her on the back burner. Nut draws typically in other decks that are playing Gwenpool already involve, I'd rather play Galacta. Everything I would do with Gwenpool, I'd rather do with Galacta. That's very real. This card is fairly similar. If I would be playing Kahhori, but instead I can do something a little bit stupider, like set up a Frigga V-Hand or things of that nature, or Misery a Hood, that stuff tends to be a little bit more preferable. And so that is kind of the thing that is holding her back, if anything. but at a baseline, the card is just decent numbers. On to the card by card breakdown and specifics on how to play this deck. This is a fairly typical Victoria hand misery list. You'll notice that there is not a fire hair in here. It is a card I really wanted to try, but it was just too hard to get into the deck. A lot of the cards are very important for this deck's functionality. And in cases where I would be able to add fire hair, I found that it just wasn't worth taking out whatever I'd have to take out to do it. In part, this is because fire hair lacks another target beyond the hood. In part, this is because a lot of what fire hair was doing was letting you have these games where you were using your energy on stuff like that, and now Kahhori just provides a higher floor. I do think that it's possible that maybe we're supposed to be playing fire hair and then miserying our Kahhori, but I will tell you, I literally only made that play one time. Almost exclusively, what you want to be doing, you might not have enough energy if you put fire hair in here to play all of the stuff that you have. This is, of course, a very powerful card, the Hood. And it is, I think, pretty prohibitively the best one-drop for any deck playing Misery and any deck that is willing or able to invest in getting rid of this card later. A 1/6 demon is unbelievably strong. A 1/6 demon that gets buffs from your Victoria hands is even stronger. Extremely good. Nico Minoru I would not describe as required in this list, but I do think she's probably best in slot in the sense that she just covers a lot of eventualities that you otherwise don't really have the ability to play for. Getting rid of locations is something only Nico can do. Drawing cards is something only Nico can do. Turning stuff into demons, that's a thing you do very occasionally. She is sort of a soft additional way of getting rid of the downside of the Hood, either by turning him into a demon or by blowing him up. And that is part of, if not most of, the reason she's played here. But there's also just generally a lot of good fail cases for this card. Copying a Victoria hand is the best of those usually. That is an extremely powerful play, and if you're able to do so, it's a very strong thing to do. Kate Bishop puts 2 created cards in your hand. Inasmuch as you are a Victoria hand deck, you do care a great deal about making sure the buffs that Victoria hand creates go on to more cards than just a couple. It is and can be fine to just clone a V hand and be like, oh, that's a 2/7. I'm very happy with that. That is something you're very happy with, but it's a little bit small ball. And in as much as this deck still plays small ball, you're gonna also want maybe a couple of 1/5s to go alongside that. And that is what Kate Bishop is here to provide. You're not always gonna be able to do everything you want, but this is just a card that puts bodies in your hand that get buffed by V-Hand, and of course we all know how good Kate Bishop can be on certain locations. Iron Patriot is markedly worse than he used to be, but again, the main thing that Victoria Hand wants is cheap cards that get buffed by her. This is no longer the absolute GOAT king of this deck that he used to be, but he is still a source of cheap cards with reasonable bodies that get buffed by Victoria Hand. That is really all you want from all of your 2s. This is a card I see a lot of people cutting from Victoria Hand decks. I want to be super clear. You should not be cutting Sam Wilson from basically anything that looks like this, basically ever. This card is too good for you to replace it with something that has more synergy, like a Mirage or whatever. Do not do that. Play Sam Wilson. Don't be like, oh, it's fine, I'm gonna get fire hair in here. No. Stop it. Play Sam Wilson. One of the things that Kahhori really stresses is that you get a lot of power on the board, but you don't have a lot of control over it. Sam Wilson and Rocket and Groot both provide bodies that can move. That gives you more control over Kahhori's distribution of power. Do not cut this card for something with more quote-unquote synergy. It doesn't actually have more synergy. This is a V-Hand deck. She is here. She is going to light you up. This is the card that is your power engine. It should be no surprise that this is yet another deck that is power engine plus relevant tech. And I think that that is like a fairly well-worn, well-trodden path in the context of Marvel Snap. This is part of your power engine. Copying it is your biggest power engine because it provides buffs not only to itself, but also to every other created card. And of course, if you copy it, it is a created card. So you have this, you have cards like Juggernaut, you have big demons that are extremely large on the final turn of the game, you have Shang-Chi, and your goal is just win some lanes with some points and then win some lanes with some tech. And she is the engine that takes you there. Juggernaut is the second piece of tech in here, and you can use Juggernaut in a couple of different ways. With Kahhori, you're actually going to have priority a lot more, which is part of why I like her here, because her power is being dumped on the board. It means that you are able to meaningfully play for priority in worlds that you really want Juggernaut to actually go off beforehand. And so Juggernaut sort of has two roles here. Some of the time, I think rarely, you're going to invest him into Iron Patriot. I typically only really do that when I'm playing against a deck that I don't expect him to be good against late, which is to say a deck that is able to fill up multiple locations and make it so he's not actually doing anything later in the game. That's sort of when I think about putting him on Iron Patriot. It can be rewarding, but typically he is sort of a final turnish card a lot of the time. He's a very powerful card. He is a very skill testing card, and having the ability to aim for priority with Kahhori, where like something like Gwenpool would never be able to do that, is actually pretty crucial and pretty cool. So what this card does is either win lanes or cement your wins in lanes that you have already won by preventing interaction like Shang-Chi or Enchantress. He can be used to protect your stuff, or he can be used to win different lanes. A very powerful card. Those are the two main modes that he has. Rocket and Groot is a very replaceable card in this list. I think there are many cards that are like equivalently powerful. Things like Copycat or Red Guardian are perfectly fine replacements here. The only reason I'm really choosing Rocket and Groot over those cards is because I want to be able to have the ability to move my power around late in the game. Rocket and Groot manages to combine similar upside to a card like Copycat, similar power upside, while also being a card that can move around and reasonably contest Iron Patriot lanes and things like that. This is a very powerful card. Frankly, it is one of the best cards in the game, but I don't think it's one of the best cards in the game by like a wide margin. This is like a card where if it like lost a point of power, I'd be kind of worried it wouldn't exist. Like there are a lot of 3-drops that are really close to as good as this guy. And so this is a spot that you could very easily replace with. I mentioned 2 already, but I'm pretty sure you could put speed in here, and then maybe you'd be looking to be like a Moonstone angle on this. There's a lot of 3s that if you don't have this card, you can replace him with because he's only just a little bit better than that. Frigga, on the other hand, is core in lists like this. In my humble opinion, a lot of your best draws involve multiple copies of Victoria Hand. Frigga is something that enables multiple copies of Victoria Hand. Her fail case is typically something like copying an Iron Patriot, which again, you're a Kahhori deck. Anything that puts stuff in your hand is very, very good. But like, this is not just a copier for V-Hand herself. You can copy demons off of it. You can copy a card that has been Iron Patrioted because you will get it with the cost reduction applied to it. Bunch of different things this card does. Typically is going to play as a 3/4, choose a card you have, get a copy of it a lot of the time. You do have to plan for her, that's definitely true, but a lot of the time she's basically like 3/4 get a demon, 3/4 get a V-Hand, 3/4 get something good off of an Iron Patriot again. She compounds your good draws and makes them better. Shang-Chi spot, also flexible. This could be a Super Skrull or an Enchantress if you really want to index for stuff like that. I found that I preferred Shang-Chi, but I think it is a very reasonable case if you want to try a different tech card here and go for a different spread of matchups. I do think it's a little bit harder to be an Enchantress deck because it requires so much planning out in the lanes that you have a V-Hand in. Like, you really don't want to get rid of your own V-Hand a lot of the time. You do care about that, and sometimes she is on the board. I think that the Shang-Chi ends up being on balance the best option, but I'm not going to sit here and yell at you if you decide to play something else in the spot. Interestingly, Kahhori feels like Goliath in here, and what I mean by that is I think she probably goes in the best version of this deck, much like how Goliath goes in the best version of Ongoing, but it's not incredibly punishing not to own her because there are just viable replacements for her and things you can try to be doing. None of them are exactly her, much like how there is not a one-to-one replacement for Goliath in an ongoing deck, but you can try to target different things with this slot, like what if you just played Enchantress here? That would probably work. I don't want people to watch this and come away thinking, wow, I need to buy Kahhori. That's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is I've seen a lot of people saying this card is actually bad. And all I can tell you is that in my experience, that was not true. Misery is your key to getting rid of the hood for fun and profit. It is one of the best interactions that you can have with the hood. It is better, in my opinion, to misery the hood than it is to like bounce the hood a lot of the time. This is a card that is extremely powerful in that context. You can also use it with Friggas some of the time. You are rarely able to. For the record, with Frigga, it will hit the card you played before misery. Just throwing that one out there. So you are rarely going to be able to use this card to do Kate Bishop stuff because your hand is very often going to be too full. I wasn't even really able to get a lot of good Iron Patriot stuff off with here. Sometimes, rarely, you'll be able to double up on a Shang-Chi or double up on a Juggernaut after your opponent thinks that they are safe. So, should you buy Kahhori? I realize the title of this video is I had a 70% win rate with Kahhori, oh my god, or something like that, probably. That said, I don't think you need to buy her for really any deck other than this or Thanos or something along those lines. I can see her being a card that hangs around, but again, I think maybe it's the comparison to V-Hand that sticks out, where it's like, that is sort of what this card feels like, and this deck that I'm playing, can just like disappear randomly every so often, like it just goes away, or like if it gets another card that it wants to run more and is a sufficient power addition. Like the thing I think about every time I think about these decks is like they are one the hood away from actually like becoming a reasonable fire hair deck. And I think in a world where they like make a second the hood, you would have to be worried about stuff like Kahhori being the cut in those cases. I also think that there is a lot that this deck is doing that is fairly similar to other decks that are good in the metagame. And so I don't want to sit here and be like, what's up, guys? Another deck with season passes and Juggernaut and Shang-Chi. Actually, though, it's winning because of Kahhori. I don't know if that's entirely accurate. What I can tell you is a ton of people have been saying this card is bad. I can tell you, I do not think that she is. I think this is a very fine card. I think this is a card that is a side grade or similar to Gwenpool, and I think that that is an upper echelon card. Is it worth opening? I think is another question entirely, especially because of the way in which the economy is going to be changing, either on the 29th this month or on the 3rd of June. The standards are much higher. I would guess that if you do have the cards Call Obsidian and the card Hydra Bob, which are the other cards in the caches, it might not be worth risking your keys rolling for Kahhori. That said, I think she's being underrated by a lot of people right now. As always, I have been KMBest. You have been phenomenal. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. We're going to jump right in to some gameplay. To get a bigger guy than that. They just had a bigger guy than that, and it was like totally chill. That is scary. I don't know how this ordering works. I don't know what I get a copy of. Hood, then Wiccan, then... Oh, I fucked up. Yeah. I could have gotten an extra demon. Or technically a demon because it's Wiccan. I don't think I care. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, should have done the other order. What could they possibly be doing to win here? You want to play her first for less targets or last? I don't think I care. But I don't want to hit any of my demons in case it's like a Killmonger. Leader would be hysterical. Even that I don't think would win, though. Surely they simply stay and give me two... What? Well, I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. Where they might put two things was just better, straight up. Really? I guess I'm getting Mr. Negative, huh? What am I leaving? Oh, they're snapping a Sauron. That's actually kind of interesting. Well, that is a remarkable card to get. Part of me is thinking this. We can Shang Valk last turn? Yes, but I want to take them off of a potential scar if I can. Look at that. What a valuable Shang. We're not scared of Scar? I am scared of Scar. What are you guys talking about? Prevent myself being jugged, maybe? Jug, then Valk. Oh, right, yeah. Wow, they really just thought there was no way I could win that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, I probably should have gone for the V hand. Just to make sure my Valk, right? I refuse to be that person. Oh my god. Yeah, Kahhori Agamotto. That's exactly what I... Yeah. Oh no. Okay. That's like the exact sort of range for what I'm talking about here. Okay, we're gonna get double Iron Patriot, double Kahhori. Are y'all ready? I don't know if it's good enough to snap that against, Shit, is this Thanos or Agamotto? Fuck. Is this... I don't remember if this is Thanos or Agamotto. I'll snap anyway. I just feel like there's a really good chance I get fucked here if it's the Agamotto version. I didn't keep track of it, but I'm an idiot. I deserve it if that's what happens. I think it's Agamotto based on how they're playing. Which means, like, I could get, you know, double bolts or whatever. Oh no, Thanos it is. Okay. Surely they're not playing, Oh god. What the hell does that mean, dude? Mobius? That makes sense. Does this make sense? Yeah, Groot middle, Demon middle, V-hand left is our best output. But if they just play Thanos middle, we lose to that, right? I'm trusting Derek here. So 5. Yes! We're so goated. 8 cuber. They really played around it, though. Jug, yeah, I mean, stranger danger aside. Like, Rocket and Groot and Sam Wilson, these are not cards you need to play this deck. They're just good cards that go in the deck. No, I mean, he's super busted, don't get me wrong. He's fucking awesome. But you don't like, you're not out here like, holy fuck. It's just good to have targets for Kahhori that can move. That's honestly literally it. Honestly, just that's the extent of it. You just like having targets for Kahhori that can move. That's like it's not even like they're all that much better than everything else you could play. It's just that the move stuff sort of separates them, you know? And that's not to say you need to go find another card that can move. That's not what I'm saying. Card any good? It seems okay. I'm getting acid arrowed. Oh, I didn't get acid arrowed? Holy shit. Holy shit! Demon! 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 I'm not gonna sandbag here. I think I just play her for 410. And then next turn I can go, like, V-hand Hawkeye. Actually, I mean, the only time I get punished for this is if I draw a Frigga, right? Hawkeye V-hand, go to 5, draw another card, go to 6. I get one more Kahhori proc. Okay. Did I order this correctly, or did I play V-hand first? I did order it correctly. Okay, so I think this is my jug lane. One created card over here. The problem is I can't get any bigger than this 6, so we might end up actually going to a tiebreaker. Like, when they play their V-hand, I think I might lose the tiebreaker, is my ultimate problem. So if that's what we're convinced will happen, is there a world where my actual play is this? I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. I think I'm dying here. Oh, wait. That works? Oh, my fuck. I did not realize... Oh, my God. Whack. Yeah, we had to play around that going left and tie-breaking us. What did I think was going to happen? For some reason, I thought that if she didn't destroy... you know, it might as well, right? Surprised you didn't snap the clog. I thought that if I did, they would instantly leave. And I didn't think they were playing two things there that turn. I just didn't expect them to do that, you know? Yakubovich, did I just tell you not to do what you're doing right now? I think I did. They snap. Wow. I guess they must have a Mobius, but that's pretty chill, honestly. Oh, I mean, sure. Works for me. Stream running Kate. It might be that or it might be Clog, honestly. My concerns are much more related to it being a Clog thing. Kahhori is a good incorporation of this deck? Yeah. He's a solid card. Move the shield. I don't want to move the shield. There's a scream on the board. I want to make them move me. Bang! Bang! Who's the man, dude? It's me. God, I've never seen anyone so dead. Let's go. There, that was my clue that it was also a little bit cloggy, and so I played around it. Simple as that. Fraudulent Huskies. Wow. What a rude thing to say, man. Fuck. Snow Guard. So a fellow... If they have a V-hand, I am so fucked. I honestly kind of wonder if I am supposed to try to draw to my V-hand. Okay, they don't have a V-hand. That's good. I can do infinite Kahhori works. But I suppose so can they. Bait reference, yes. I'd go with the raid. Thank you. Yeah, these lashers are huge, dude. Goddamn. This is a scary sight. Alright, so. This is still pretty good for me, I think. Or at least far from the worst case scenario. Because we have 2 V-hand. They're snapping me. I'm really interested. I'm going to find out if this works. I think I'm going to stay. With effectively a shitload in the middle and a shitload over there. I get it. Okay, so 7 and 6. I'm with it. Pull the Shang, dude. Pull me a Shang. Oh, that works too. Maybe it doesn't work too. All right, so they're effectively additional 12 here. I need to win one of these lanes, despite the fact that they have all of this shit. Okay. I don't know if I did my math correctly here, but it's possible that I did. I got the read right, if anything. So this is 8, 13. Yes, what's up, dude? Actual Lasher gamer? Imagine fucking playing Lasher, bro. They're over here. That's Emma, right? That avatar? Looks like it. Why, thank you. I would love a card. Aha. Seems good. I feel like any Quinjet deck, I just gotta feel good about this, you know? Losing Prio off of that is fucking insane. Hey man, me too. We got around this by never playing Kahhori. True. Real. Is this version of the deck stronger than Firehair Carnage? I believe so. This will be 9. Can get shanged here, but I'll still win off the V hand. And this way I play around a jug. Yeah, I guess they could super scroll me. That'd be pretty bad.